Welcome to Watches Tonight. I am your host, Tim Mosso. Right now we have Garrett on the switcher and you in the box. Tonight I talk German watches, we chat live, and I share your viewer wrist shots tonight on Watches Tonight. I'm wearing my Garrett S6. Love this baby right here. It's been a long period with one watch. Normally I switch it up a little bit, but I don't know, something about this one grabs me. I want to shout out our friends in the World Wide Web. We've got Edward Ledden of Sweden, Arto Charles from New York City, Enrique Cassiano, Moto Gunner from Athens, Georgia. We've got Miroslav from Europe, Jim Millett from the UK, David H. from the great state of Texas, Slowboy Fuel Pump, Mr. Jiggly, Michael Everywhere from Manhattan, Troy HD, Birbinghard from Seattle on America's left coast. We got Rob Filmer from Chicago, and our good friend Joe Tyson from Apex, North Carolina. Scott, a local boy from Marion, Pennsylvania. All right, so guys, while we're warming up, do me a favor. Open up Instagram, keep me streaming, Tim_Mosso. Check out my 30 to 60 second reviews. They are bite-sized but information dense. It's kind of like a multivitamin for your mind. You can live stream my videos. You can even daisy chain them and binge watch my Instagram every once in a while. I throw in a little bit of the life of Tim Mosso. So check out Tim_Mosso on Instagram. See who's joining in. We got Lloyd Kerr from Maryland, Marco B from Firenze. We have Perry P from upstate New York. We got Ronald from Peoria, Illinois in the American Midwest. Herb joining in. And we got Hey Watch This and Mark S from Brooklyn, longtime supporter. Jesse Seiko, I wonder what he likes. We've got Jeremy McBee from Hanover, Pennsylvania. Mason 1 and Doc Mick in Florida. Grandmaster Chime, Alexi Samola of Finland. Welcome to all of you. Instant gratification. Wrist shots number 1. Brad D captures a father and son moment on his son's 16th birthday with Patek Philippe regulator annual calendar and the Tudor Black Bay Chrono Pink. I'm actually going to opine here that Tudor is more exclusive than the Patek. But then again, if you buy Patek advertising, the boy will own both of them one day anyway. We have Spencer K, who rules the road with his Lange Söhne Zeitwerk date and the Mercedes-Benz G63 AMG. That is a beast. That is 2 German beasts right there. We've got Kasim H, goes full Rolex Daytona Le Mans with a his and hers. He's got his Daytona Le Mans, and she has her Bulgari Serpenti Tato Ando, an elegant companion. Wasimar rocks the JLC Reverso day and date in his Bentley during rush hour traffic in Dubai. Marcio M of Spartanburg, South Carolina, thrills with his vintage Patek Philippe reference 96 with Tiffany dial. It does not come any cooler or classier than that. Send your wrist shots to MondayMailbag at thewatchbox.com to see your pieces on these pixels. James Fernandez from Phoenix. We got Junior Johnson, Jeff S in the box. Jeff, you are in the wrist shots tonight. Pizza Man, Mr. Banca, Lou Godbar from Puerto Rico, Keystar G60, welcome to one and all. Troy HD saying, holy cow, that Le Mans, how did you pick that up? Believe it or not, that's one of the few next-gen Daytonas I've actually seen alive in the flesh, in the field. It almost seems like they delivered those first. I can't say for sure. All I can say is, given how few current-gen Daytonas seem to be out there, that seems to be the most populous of the species. All right, and we've got Dr. Kevin Moore from Bloomington, Indiana. So, guys, German watches in 2025. The new year is almost upon us. We're halfway through November. It's time to start thinking about what we want for the holidays and also what we're going to be putting in our watch boxes in the new year. Naturally, German watches, I could say that almost from the time I realized luxury watch collecting was a thing, I was aware that a distinguished minority of watches were actually produced in Germany rather than Switzerland. And while it seems like brands and creators are everywhere these days, I mean, we have American watchmakers in Japan and China, it does still seem that the two centers of elite luxury watchmaking for sheer density of output, it remains Switzerland and Germany. And today, We're talking exclusively about the latter. We're going to explore my favorite machines from Germany and from German watch brands. And I couldn't open with a better brand than the modern standard in German luxury watches, which is a Lange Söhne. Many are surprised to learn that the modern Lange is a present-day creation. Its history only goes back to 1990, and it's extremely honest and forward about that. So they're not pretending to be an unbroken lineage dating back to F.A. Lange in 1845. Rather, they are a continuation of that spirit due to the link to the Lange family through co-founder Walter Lange, who along with Hartmut Knote and Gunter Blumlein refounded a Lange Söhne in 1990 and launched the first watches under that name in 1994. The quality is undoubted. I don't think anything embodies that more than the Zeitwerk. Now, the Zeitwerk is spectacular. We've already had one in our wrist shots. Here is the Zeitwerk Luminous. Now, it's got a luminous dial. Although often described as the Zeitwerk Lumen, that's one that came many years later in rose gold. Technically, this one is the Luminous, and it's one of the most sought-after Lange watches ever created. Now, all of these photos are going to be mine unless otherwise noted, so we're going to get really close and see the details as I saw them. So it was launched in 2009 in its original version. The Zeitwerk was otherworldly. 42 millimeters in white gold is how I'd take mine, but this luminous in platinum ain't shabby. So, digital jumping display. You can see right there the overlapping digits of the minute and 10-minute disc. And this display system was GPHG Gold. It won the Aiguille d'Or in 2009. As a German watch, at the Swiss Oscars of watchmaking, it took home the equivalent of Best Picture. It remains enthralling today. You can see the smoked sapphire on this luminous model allows the luminescent discs to charge up before they snap into position, so they're ready to glow when they snap into position to show you the time. The caliber L043 is a masterpiece and properly sized. You wonder, why is the Zeitwerk so large? Because it has to be. This movement is over 36 millimeters in diameter. By itself, it's the size of a standard Datejust. Now, a remontoir located on the bridge that's roughly at 3 o'clock in this picture, but that remontoir ensures that unlike almost every jumping time or retrograde watch ever made, this one is a consistent timekeeper. The monstrous mainspring never directly drives the balance, so you don't have to worry about it knocking or overbanking when fully wound, and you don't have to worry about a surge and drop of torque to the escapement as the jumps occur. That is a product of the remontoir system, and it is large at over 36 millimeters, big and beautiful, mostly in German silver, but the silver colored pieces are steel. The champagne colored pieces are the German silver, a nickel copper zinc alloy with the copper giving it that champagne golden hue. It's packed with capability. Finish is superb, even under a 10 power loop, and you can see that right here. This is the bridge for the second escapement that locks and unlocks once per minute to transfer energy to the remontoir spring. The finish comes in many different forms. As you can see right here, the solarization on the cover of the barrel and the black polish on the Maltese cross-style stopworks that prevents it from running when it no longer has the energy to jump the time. Details abound, and you find new ones even after repeated viewings. Look at the freehand engraving on that balance cock. Look at the streifen, the stripes. Look at the anglage on the edge of the bridges, and look at the solarization on that wheel with micro beveling on the teeth of the wheel and the intermediate wheel next to it. And finally, look at the black polish on that perfectly beveled and slotted screw. My goodness. Now, the market for these is crazy, but for my preferred white gold version, you're actually getting quite a bit. Considering this model hasn't been made for about 2 years now, the last listed retail was about $90,000. And as you can see from many credible sellers around the world, you're going to pay a lot less than that to own this, which is why I consider it to be, relatively speaking, a bargain for what it represents. Okay. For many folks, there is sort of a big three of Lange, if you will. There's the Lange 1, one of the original 4 models from 1994. There is the Zeitwerk from 2009, and then sort of spaced between them chronologically is the Datograph. The chronograph that shook the watch industry when it arrived at Basel in Switzerland in 1999. And to me, it's more interesting than a Lange 1, and to maybe those who are a bit more conservative of taste, it's also less weird and less massive than the Zeitwerk. Now, the original version in '99 was in platinum, and it was a watershed moment for Lange and the industry as a whole. This is when Patek Philippe started really considering whether it needed to go in-house with its chronograph calibers, and it was sort of the beginning of the end of the Lemagne bases in the chronographs and the perpetual calendar chronographs. So this watch was also a moment that forced the Swiss to reconsider finishing, as the Datograph showed a lot more of the underlying mechanism than the Lange 1 before it, and you could really see that this was a movement not just designed for finish, but for beauty of architecture. Take a look at that dial. That's the original layout, but that, nope, if we go back, there we go. That is what you pay for on a Datograph. That is caliber L951, and it is the works. Now, of course, on the Lange 1, you have that big barren 3/4 plate. It's traditional, but it's also kind of boring. Whereas here, you see an incredible number of layers. It's like looking through the forest canopy as God's eye staring down on the Amazon rainforest, if the Amazon rainforest were made of metal. I should also say that this watch blew minds in 1999, and what was left of the solid caseback movement in Swiss watchmaking was pretty much beaten back into submission. If you wanted to be on par with a Lange, you had to show the movement and finish the movement like a Lange. So, lots to love. The Datograph 403031 was only made for 3 years. This rose gold model you see right here, the rose gold in 39, 2003 to 2005, and it became famous in its own right as one of the few watches that Philippe Dufour bought for himself. So check out, that's the clutch right there. Take a look. Golden chaton fixing the pivot jewels as it was in the 19th century. Look at the satination across the steel of the clutch. Look at the beveling on the edge of these tiny steel parts, and then in the lower left-hand corner of this picture, look how they interior beveled the confines of the steel clutch. You're not going to find an interior bevel on some Geneva hallmark movements. You get two just on this clutch. The excess of this caliber L951, look at that black polished and faceted index, the beveled and polished swan's neck. Look at the intricacy of the engraving on that half bridge. Look at the flower motif around the fixing screw at the end of the balance cock. The engine turning underneath, the cup runneth over. This clutch in steel is insane. You saw it before, now look again. The entire spring assembly has been mirror finished to a black polish. That's off to the left, and you could see it is in fact black when viewed from this angle. Or this, the swan's neck regulator. Get a better look at that engraved bridge here, and this column wheel, black polished. It only reflects light from 1 or 2 different angles as you roll it through the light. And look at the satination of the steel parts of the chronograph. This is as good, no, this is as great as it gets in chronograph finish. A landmark watch, still thrilling after all these years. When I met Philippe Dufour at Dubai Watch Week in 2019, he spoke in glowing terms about this watch, and you should know that he loves the Dufourograph nickname. He actually takes a great deal of pride in it, and he still has the watch. Okay, Richard Lange, pour le Mérite Tourbillon. Now, technically, this is the Richard Lange. If we're going to use the true German pronunciation, it is Richard. And this is a watch that is almost too feature dense to include as part of a series. This could be the whole Lange discussion. So let's talk about what you get. At 41.9 millimeters, it is one of the larger watches from this company. And the 2011 piece is very special for a number of reasons if you've got the wrist for it. But it's about as small as possible given the ridiculous amount of features you get. And hold on to your hat. The Richard Lange has a trick. And that trick, if we go back and forth here, do you see it? Back and forth? It's the trap door on the hours dial over at 9 o'clock. It appears over the tourbillon when you need it to tell time. Then if we could jump back, It disappears in an instant, like a trapdoor, when it's no longer necessary. It is the last word in dial side cool. It snaps instantly into view and out of view so that you can impress your friends but also complete your sterling silver dial, including that piece, when necessary. It'll keep the tourbillon visible all other times. Now this caliber L072 is gorgeous, thanks to a skeletonized 3/4 plate. I mentioned that I thought the barren 3/4 plate of something like a Lange 1 deprives you of the pleasure of seeing the works. Well, Lange fixed the problem on the Richard Lange pour le Mérite Tourbillon. This is a watch that allows you to see the drivetrain, yes, but also the fusee, the barrel, the chain, and the stop works. We have varied color and finish, and my goodness, is it a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes, but it also gives you an element of depth not found on the Lange watches with a solid 3/4 bridge. Hey, check the lower right-hand corner. There is a diamond capstone underneath the tourbillon assembly. And look at how the engraved cock for the tourbillon, as well as the adjacent structure, it's not just engraved, it's also frosted. How cool is that? As with the Glashütte Original tourbillon, which you will see a little bit later in this series, the Lange employs that diamond end stone, and it's a real diamond. The rubies are fake, or I should say synthetic, but the diamond is real. Like all of the Lange pour le Mérite movements, this one features a fusee and chain, and you can see it right there. Now, of course, the chain is the highlight here. It works like bicycle gearing. And so as the mainspring barrel loses torque, it pulls the chain from the fusee, and the fusee is geared to the drivetrain of the watch. As the mainspring loses torque via the chain, it pulls a larger diameter of the fusee, just as you gear up to turn a larger sprocket on your bike when you're going uphill. That magnifies the mechanical advantage, ensuring that for the full power reserve of this watch, thanks to the gearing of the fusee, we have constant amplitude. Lange is one of the very few companies in the world that has more than one constant force device. They have both a fusee and at least 2 versions of remontoire in their catalog. The chain is only 0.5 millimeters wide, but it's 15 centimeters long and incredibly strong, capable of suspending 2 kilograms of mass vertically. The tourbillon regulator, which you can see here, filigreed, polished, and beveled, is not only intricate and gorgeous in detail, but capable of hacking seconds, which is still a rarity for any type of system that is a tourbillon regulator. So it is both your seconds hand and a tourbillon, and yes, you can hack it to set it to the second against a reference. Let's see what you guys are saying in the box. Ruggiero saying German engraving is just otherworldly. We've got Norm M saying, watches have to be the only design discipline where I still accept Rococo Baroque design and detail. I agree with that. And we have a comment, nothing special about diamonds except they make good abrasives. Yes, but flawless, cut, and beautiful, I'm not going to complain. It's a rare sight in a watch, especially when you can find an application of a diamond in a man's watch that seems so universally cool and acceptable to watch collectors. We have Troy HD. How does the lume on the Zeitwerk not show through when it's supposed to be in the background charging? Mostly because the smoked sapphire suppresses it a little bit. We got John Atchison from Wales, UK. Rich Mitch asking, do I have a bad haircut? No, I'm just cold. It's chilly in here. We've got windows on 2 sides and bad ventilation. The heating doesn't work in the studio. What else is going on? Question, does the silver patina on the dials? No, because it's been galvanized with a coating. If you're talking about bare silver, like the case of a Black Bay 925, then yes, it does patina. DRL Glass. Any opinion on Damasco? Yes, I like the DC80 with green accents as a sort of surrogate for a Zinn EZM1 or 1.1. I also like their ice hardening to prevent dents. It's not as good at preventing scratches as Zinn's tegament, but it is better at preventing dents because it goes all the way through the metal. It's not a surface treatment. Maison 1, I quite like the other Pour la Mérite with the Grand Faux enamel dial, and I'm with you on that. We got Danny S. joining in from DC. Always good to see him. He's a longtime supporter of the show. We've got Kian Bani saying, hi everyone. Good to see you, my man. Welcome. And we got Ron H. waking up early from Sydney, Australia. Junior Johnson, KVB. And we've got C. Vrex Gems in the box, along with Norm M. and Lucabetic Mark. Welcome, guys. Okay. We got Kian Bani saying, just purchased a stainless steel Santos Medium as my first luxury watch. Excited to spend some serious time with it. Wear it in good health. Long may you prosper. I love to hear that you got your first serious watch. Viewer Chats number 2, Liam S. of Nantucket impresses with his bespoke polished titanium lapis style Sartori Biard SB04. Dan the Watchman goes his own way with the 1920s J.E. Caldwell Vacheron Constantin hand-engraved pocket watch, and we have the Vacheron Constantin reverse side with the maker's mark and freehand engraving. Look at the wolf's tooth on the crown wheel and the ratchet wheel. Super cool profiling right there. Ed K. of Orange County, California shares his razor sharp 1916 bought Grand Seiko SLGW005 Revival in style. Thank you for trusting our company. Eleftherios P. and his Grand Seiko Spring Drive greet us from Zurich, Switzerland. Mark captures his Omega Speedmaster Super Racing chronograph and Mopar 392 Hemi. That is my favorite kind of watches and wheels. You guys know I am an American car fan. Send your chats to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your passion in this fashion. All right, German watches in 2025. What to buy new and used? Well, here's an interesting perspective. Glashütte Original is truthfully the original. And I mean that in the sense that it embodies many of the pre-war German watchmakers that were collectivized under the communists between 1951 and 1954. 7 different brands, at the very least, were collectivized into the GUB, the Glashütte Uhrenbetriebe, which was the Glashütte Watch Factory. Think of it this way, in terms of original versus revival. Lange, today's Lange, is like Rolls-Royce motor cars. The brand is a modern construction. Rolls-Royce of today was created by owner BMW in 2003 with a new legal entity and a new factory in West Sussex on the estate of the Earl of March near Goodwood. So, car quality, particularly the Phantom sedan and Cullinan SUV, is as good as it's ever been, and it sets the standard for top-end automatic luxury. However, Glashütte Original is like today's Bentley Motors Limited. That company is the same legal entity once known as Rolls-Royce Motors, and it traces its unbroken lineage back to 1906 and the origins of the Rolls-Royce brand, and that is the 2009 Brooklands Coupe. That is an original Bentley Rolls-Royce that is built on the Rolls-Royce SZ platform at the very end of the line under Bentley branding, under Volkswagen ownership. Now, Bentley today, as the successor to the original Rolls-Royce Motors, it owns the original Crewe factory from the combined Rolls-Royce and Bentley production era. It owns the tools, the engineering drawings. It has all of the spare parts for the cars built at Crewe, and it continues to provide parts support for those old Crewe-built Rolls-Royces. Volkswagen owns Bentley, the trademarks, the parts, and the original factory, dating back to the original Rolls-Royce firm. And that last part is critical because just as today's Bentley is the original Rolls-Royce, today's Glashütte Original is also the original Lange Söhne. So, follow me here. As with Rolls-Royce and Bentley, foreign owners Richemont and Swatch control Lange and Glashütte Original, respectively. So, that's how that works. Today's Glashütte Original was part of, well, Lange Söhne was folded into it during the collectivization of horology under the communists, and it was never dispatched and released to the company that uses the name today. So if you want to buy the original Lange Söhne, you buy Glashütte Original. And if you want to buy the original Rolls-Royce today, you buy some sort of Bentley. So Pano Retrograph. A year 2001 launch, this 39.4mm precious metal monster is a flyback chronograph with a programmable countdown that you can see in the upper right-hand corner of the dial. It also has a minute repeater chime to mark chrono time during the countdown. Technically speaking, it surpassed the Datograph in every way. The movement, GUB60, remember we talked about GUB being the collectivized name of East German watchmaking. Well, GUB is still on the Glashütte Original movement base plates to this day. This is caliber 60, purpose-built and eye-watering. Seriously, look at all that color. The repeater gong around the perimeter of the movement, the clutch and the column wheel, the golden chaton holding pivot jewels, polished and blued screws. Also, look at the case back around the edge. Freehand engraved, all of those characters, as handmade gets. Fits easily on small wrists, like mine, at 46mm from lug tip to lug tip, and prices reflect this watch's obscurity, not its quality. So it is an outstanding buy to this day for what amounts to basically steel Daytona prices. So if you're looking for quality, look no further. Hugely innovative, programmable, countdown, chiming, flyback chronograph with that beautiful bespoke movement to boot in a size anyone can wear. All right, in the box, we have Emex saying, I think Lange appears to be the original thing rather than Glashütte Original. I feel this is the opinion of most who know about these brands. A Lange watch looks better. Yes, you might say that it is in the tradition, but it is not the legal entity that was the original Lange Söhne. It's a modern creation. We also have Thomas Burnett saying he's wearing his beanies indoors as he watches at the moment. Let's make beanies in cold rooms a thing. I'm all for it. We got Doc F joining in, Chris L, Norm M saying, now we're talking. Enrique Casiano, I will be surprised if this episode doesn't feature a Moritz Grossmann. I don't think you're going to be surprised. And Abdul from Germany saying that is a beautiful way of showing the chronograph. Jeff S saying, is that Phantom Coupe going to end up in Tim's garage someday? It's already in my dream garage. In an ideal world, it would be. I don't know if I can pull off a Phantom Coupe, but certainly that is my platonic ideal of the two-door personal car. It is the driver's Rolls Royce. I love the opulence of Rolls-Royce. I don't know if I have the personality to make that work, but I would try. And what else is going on here? Let's jump straight into the Pano Tourbillon XL. Okay, launched in 2007, this flying tourbillon recalls the high watermark of pre-war German watchmaking under master and teacher Alfred Hellwig. At 42mm in white gold, this tourbillon is definitely an XL in size, but not really a Pano because it doesn't have the panorama datum. Instead, it has a retrograde date. It's nice and compact, only 12mm thick and 48.5 lug to lug. It's broad and it's flat. It was a dream of mine to encounter and wear this watch, and you can see it looks good on the wrist. The case back is nice. Look at the solarization of the ratchet wheel. It's good looking, but let's be honest, it's not the highlight. That's the flying tourbillon. Once again, we've got a diamond capstone, but now it's on the dial side of the watch, and being a flying tourbillon, there's no bridge to block your view. Overcoil hairspring too. The Pano Tourbillon XL sports a flying tourbillon, retrograde date, and power reserve indicator. When they surface, expect to pay substantially below $50,000 for this rarely seen gem. Plus, it looks like a New York black and white cookie. And quite frankly, that was the very first thing that came to mind when I saw this. I guess they don't have those in Glashütte, the world's best fondant confection and possibly Germany's best tourbillon. Let's see what's going on in the box. You're not wrong, Jeff. I absolutely adore that Phantom Coupe. And we've got Rima Aviation saying, Lange Söhne makes the finest timepieces in the world. I don't own one, but I've looked at Patek, AP, Vacheron, and FP Journe in person. I've never seen anything as nice as Lange. We're going to see it here. And you're going to see stuff that's on par, maybe even better. And then we've got a comment, Tim deserves a Pegoretti. You know what? Catch the Spider paint scheme is where I got the color codes from my Dan Reuter chronograph. Check that out. You'll see it immediately. We've also got Thomas Burnett saying Dornbluth and Kadoka are two German brands on my short list. And we got Luke asking, Tim, why is thickness a common trend in German watches? Probably because Lange established it as acceptable, and a lot of German watch brands follow Lange aesthetically. Come on, guys, stay with me. Let's get the concurrent viewers up to 300. It always makes my day, and then on demand, it makes my week as people watch this. It'll be boosted by the algorithms if I can get 300 concurrent. PanoInverse from Glashütte Original first launched as a manual wind watch in 2008. Later, in 2014, there was an automatic, but it became the only real design innovation and signature style of this rather diversified and insufficiently marketed brand. When I think of the iconic Glashütte Original, I think of this. This version that you're looking at right now was a 2019 series that proved Glashütte Original has as much artisanal credibility and resources in-house as Lange. Decoration of this 25-piece edition is insane, intricate, and unique in every instance. No two of the 25 are exactly alike. All of the fun is on the dial side, including that spectacular duplex swan's neck regulator over the balance and escapement. So you don't have to take the watch off the wrist to show off or enjoy the best part of the movement. But the case back of this 42mm platinum watch remains gratifying and worthwhile to view. I love the sort of floral motif. It's very different from the way Lange does floral engraving. An even more recent version of this watch has a sort of cubist cityscape motif engraved onto the dial and the caseback. This was a limited edition, a beautiful, exquisite, and odd sort of take on the inverse concept, as well as freehand engraving and bespoke watchmaking. I really dig it. It's offbeat but cool and seems distinctive of the brand. These are works of art that you can wear. And although I showed it last week, I'll be remiss not to mention the best alarm watch in the world, the Senator Diary, set it to any hour of 24, up to 31 days in advance. It is the ultimate alarm watch. Retails for over 20, no longer made. You can buy it used for under 10. Okay, wrist shots number 3. Caleb B hits the road with his Saab 900 Turbo and Zinn EZM3 Mission Timer. Ron reports from London at the League of Legends professional final with his Chris Ward 12 titanium. Look at that purple dial, my goodness. Roy S. captures a patriotic moment on election day with his Breitling Premier B09 Burgundy. Tony S. righteously shares his Boulder Odyssey Freediver GMT at a Tool concert in Dallas, Texas. Jeremy from Alabama rolls in his 2008 Porsche 997 with his Tag Heuer Monza re-edition. Looking good in both cases. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your analog on my digital. Or maybe your digital on my digital. I don't discriminate. Whatever watch display you like, I'll put it up here. All right, guys. We're up to 297. Stay with me. Let's hit that big 300. The double donut after a 3. We got Enrique Cassiano saying, God, that Breitling is the prettiest of all premieres, in my opinion. We got Jem saying the new PanoInverse is insanely, Lunar Inverse is insanely beautiful. And then Abdul saying a German alarm watch would be a perfect fit. Ron H saying German watches in my collection are the Lange 1815 and Dornbluth Regulator, two beautiful watches, and I agree with you. And what else is going on? Mark S., always the spoil sport, saying, I don't like the counterweight on the Senator Second Sand. We're all entitled to our opinions. All right, now, let's take a look at German independence, because this space is full of excitement and rife with excellence. So yes, you were right. There will be a Moritz Grossmann, and here it is. It's the Tremblage. Moritz Grossmann Tremblage, 2021 launch in steel or rose gold. This one's the rose gold. It's a wild take on the three-hander watch. A masterpiece with a unitary, and that means all one piece engraved German silver dial. It's the movement material used by Lange, by Geo, by many others. But take a look at that. The track, the engraved base, the numerals, they're all one piece. These are not appliques. They're raised and relieved from the base. It is a monoblock of metal engraved over days by hand. All of the little divots on the dial done using a tiny chisel tip, and then you can see how the numeral has been carved out and mirror polished on its top. All of the letters, numerals, and scales rise up from the dial blank, and you can see how the track for the minutes has been engraved out of the solid. The hands are exquisitely cut, polished, and fired manually to create a purple hue that requires a shorter, more careful, more disciplined firing. The best hands in watchmaking are at Moritz Grossmann. MG hands are famously fine and needle-like in appearance. It's too easy to break them, bend them, or destroy them, but the artisans there manage to come through every time. Even the hand centers over the cannon pinion and the hour wheel are mirror polished and immaculately decorated. Caliber 100 on the back is absurd, and at 36.4 millimeters properly sized, finished in ways that sneak up on you. It may appear monotone and austere at first glance, but all of the characters here, rather than raised and relieved, they are engraved ones, and I can't write that well. The engraved handwriting on the back is better than my penmanship. Intricate engraving on the balance cock surpasses the detail density of Lange because Moritz Grossmann makes less than 1/10 as many watches. And look at that regulator. Oh my gosh, that is their own design. A steel-screwed micrometric regulator. They even engraved the little scale for the watchmaker's use and reference. Look at that custom regulator and the triple solarized ratchet wheel that sits atop the barrel. Solarization, tough to do. Double solarization, tougher. Triple solarization, only the best attempted. And check out the black polish of this screw in the middle. That is the definition of mirror finish. Also, that might be the most dramatic circumferential beveling and slot beveling I've ever seen. That is the definition of slotting and beveling a screw. Of course, more purple fired screws, just like the hands, are to be found alongside the wire brush frosted bridges, and you can see clear sapphires are used for the pivot jewels to maintain that lovely pale champagne aesthetic of these movements. Anglage is mirrored where you find it, and the real deal hand finish. The teeth of the crown and ratchet wheel are micro beveled, and you can see that the crown wheel core also mirror finished. And then there's a 14.2 millimeter free sprung balance made in-house. Now again, these are all my photos unless otherwise noted. This is Moritz Grossmann as I see it. We have Whole Milk saying, why not go to quadruple solarization? Well, that might be the next frontier in German watchmaking. And we have Mr. Jiggly saying that is a 100 Swiss franc screw. It would be if it were made in Switzerland. Let's call it 100 euro. And we have Time Hill saying that relief dial is amazing. No contest on that front. We've also got just past 302 concurrent viewers. Guys, stay with me. We're going to see even more and better from German indie watchmaking coming up next. Laurel Lobo saying, if you're going to bevel the inside edges of a screw head, I'm not sure who else would dare to finish to that level. Here, when you're making that few watches, you can do it. And we have Stuart saying, Moritz is my end game, and trust me, it's a worthy grail. If that is your exit watch, well chosen. All right. Not far away from Glashütte in Dresden, Lange Söhne created the Anton Tourbillon in 2018, probably the world's most beautiful rectangular watch. Critically, company founder Marco Lange was still at the firm. Marco Lange, the AHCI master, now out on his own under his own name, but he was still with the firm when Lange Söhne created the Anton Tourbillon. So this is his handiwork. And the imprimatur of the master is obvious. The filigree flying tourbillon is mental in its detail and refinement. Again, we have a Helvig-style filigree cage, just like the flying tourbillon created by instructor and master watchmaker Alfred Helvig during the first half of the 20th century. And you could see it is gorgeous. look at the colors, look at the depth. This is also a movement that possesses both quality of fine decoration, which is how the parts are ornamented and embellished, but also architecture that constructs them in visual harmony. Architecture is, well, a measure of quality and skill because it's harder than decoration. You can embellish anything, but architecture must incorporate aesthetic positioning, proportioning, sizing, and shaping of parts while still respecting the functional engineering requirements. So you can't get in the way of the engineer just because you want to situate and shape things beautifully. Bringing the two disciplines, art and science, together is the mastery of combining decoration with architecture, and nobody does it better than Lange Söhne. The school-style tourbillon, seen on the Geo and the Lange, it returns here, and you can see that all of the surroundings are of comparable quality. Several styles of this watch, if we can look at the several styles, are available. You can get white enamel dials or galvanically plated sterling silver in black with that mean platinum piece in center. You don't have to ask me which of the three I'd prefer. Or you can get the searing hot galvanic dialed platinum. Guys, that really is the only option if your pocketbook can accommodate. There have also been a number of micro editions, like the more contemporary looking Manufacture series. This one features a black ceramic dial with high ceram filled hands, so it's a little bit more contemporary if you don't want something that seems so vintage East German. This is a much more forward-looking version of the Anton, and you're going to pay somewhere between €104,000 for gold or €115,000 for platinum, and just about anything's possible because they do full custom at Lange Söhne. You could probably even get it in steel if you wanted. Heck, you could probably even get it in titanium if you write a big enough check. But if you want the look and the quality for 1/3 of the price, there is the steel Georg, which is a form watch that has 3 hands. Here again, we do have a sterling silver dial with a steel case. But turn it over on the reverse side, and it might even be more thrilling than the Anton Tourbillon because the regulator has a bonkers bridge with a diamond capstone and a balance and a hairspring and an escapement on the back with the finger bridges. And again, look at that solarization. Whew. Guys, I'm going to need a cigarette after that. Viewer shots number 4, Jeff S. He was in the box talking about the Phantom Coupe, and now he amazes on your screen with the rare and exotic Omega Seamaster Aquaterra World Timer, enamel dial, platinum case, and dial. We have Greg I of Knoxville and Caius the dog, who appreciate his Omega Seamaster Ploprof Titanium with the shark-proof titanium bracelet. Bernard S. towers over Osaka with his Colloquium Project 01 Variant D. We need more green accented hands. We have Shurith S. who dons the Patek Philippe Cubitus. This is the 5821 in steel, while resting his 5059 retrograde perpetual calendar in the background. And Winston S. closes the book with his Smith's Everest PRS 25 by the pool. That is one summary shot for late fall. Send your shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your watch on this box. Or you could send it to wristshots@the1916company.com if you want to go new school. I like the watch on my box, so I'm going to end with that. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks to one and all. Thanks for Garrett on the switcher. Thanks to all you German watch fans and car fans out in the world. Time out, Tim out. I'll see you next week, and thanks for logging on.